everybody. I hope you all are re-energized from the coffee you just had. I was glad to see that I came just after the coffee break. Thank you for the introduction. Indeed, next to adomate, I also breed my own sheep, and I wear rubber boots every day when I meet them in the morning. It's kind of my meditation moment before the start of the day. I could recommend it to everybody, but that's not what you are here for, of course. So I'm indeed the co-founder of adomate. I have a career in data and AI for more than 10 years. And adomate is a startup from Ghent. We are now already active in the performance marketing space for around 1.5 years. And I'm also married to my lovely wife, Sarah, who helped me rehearse for this meeting yesterday evening at 11 p.m. And father of Ernest and Arthur. I'm here to talk to you today because, as we all know, the world is changing, especially for marketers. Maybe also interesting for you to understand is that I'm not a marketer from my background. I'm just, let's say, a generalist. And I have worked with clients in banking, in insurance, in FMCG, and you name it. So why did I choose to start a startup in marketing, right? Could have chosen anything else because I was just unattached to all of these domains. And marketing is really like the place where I think the current technology will hit first and also quite hard. And I think that's a good thing because this will really amplify you in the way you do your jobs. I'm going to talk to you about paid social advertising specifically and most focused on Meta because that's really like the sweet spot we're working in. We also plan, of course, to work for other platforms as well. But Meta has, and I don't think I need to explain you, released their new algorithm a bit more than a year ago now called Andromeda. And that really shifted a lot of stuff, right? It has big implications on performance marketeers, on creative strategists, and I'm going to explain you why. So the way you target your audience is not the same as you did it 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you run your A/B testing, your experiments, and you could slice and dice the demographic audience you wanted to target. You could really like put those metrics into your ad account, and that is changing. Why? Because Meta believes now that it can do a better job at that than actually any marketer in the world. And probably they have the right to claim that because their algorithm is quite impressive. And so the last lever we as marketers still have is not the targeting anymore, it's the creative. That's why I'm saying that creative is now the new targeting, and it's not only me who's saying that, it's a lot of people. So that means that the importance of the creative is only increasing. And that against the background that creative volume and creative diversity are also becoming more and more important, right? So creative has become more important, but you also need to create a lot more of them, and they need to become a lot better. And that's the background against which we have founded adomate. What does that mean? If you're a performance marketer and you know, for 5 years you have been crafting your strategy and running your experiments, and you were almost there, you knew like what you needed to do and what your best practice was, you'll be crying in tears right now because that no longer holds, right? They took away your toy, they took away everything you've built up, and you feel like you need to start from scratch. And if you're a creative strategist, you're just close to a burnout, right? Because everything rests on your shoulders. You need to create way more briefings, do way more research, come up with new ideas. No, not the same, we did that already last month, come with something new. So all pressure is on you. You need to be smart every time, creative every time, data-driven, and produce a lot more content. So going back and forth with designers, reviewing content, and all that stuff. There are tools for that. There are AI tools, many of them. We are in a red ocean with our company. But the problem with most of these tools is that they don't tell you how they work. They say, give me your website URL and I'll generate you 200 ads while you sleep. They always end it while you sleep or while you're away or while you're doing something else. You don't want to be asleep. It's your profession. It's what you're good at. You want to be the marketer. You want to be in charge of this, right? And then, okay, they generate 200 ads. Like, why is number 155 there? What is the data that supports you in telling me that I need to run this ad? I don't understand. Can you tell me? No, I cannot tell you because I'm an LLM and I'm trained on the average of the average of the average of the internet, right? So everybody's working with the same tool. It's a black box. It's not usable. It's not what professional marketers can use. Let's turn it into a white box then. A white box is the contrary of a black box. It's transparency, it's explainability, and traceability. It's understanding what's going on, right? So this person becomes this person. It's a person who runs a lot of things at the same time, but is in full control and actually even has time to take some coffee. It's a lot of dashboards, a lot of screens, a lot of understanding, and you see like who is at the center of this? It's the marketer. They are at the steering wheel and they are in control of everything that happens. And that's exactly what the Adomate platform is giving you. How do we do that? We are a data-first platform. There are two big parts in this story. It's the data part and it's the visual part. We do the visual part, but we focus on the data part especially. Because the creative research part is, in the end, very important. It's the messaging, it's the hook, it's what you're going to tell. Because in the end, every experiment you run is costing you money, right? So you want to run the most probable, the experiments with the highest likelihood of success. So, surrounding your brand, there's a lot happening every day. People buying your products, people buying your competitors' products, people leaving reviews, competitors launching ads, you're launching ads, performance data is coming in. All this data is being created on a daily basis. And so how do you stay on top of that? We, with our platform, we give you the data at your fingertips, right? So just like a freight trader, we're just scanning everything that is surrounding you. So in that way, you can really leverage whatever is going on, stay up to date, and work with actual data to make your decisions. So, okay, we have data. We have reviews, we have competitor ads, we have performance metrics from my brand. So what do I do with that now? We make it easy for you. We turn it into, and think of, a Pinterest mood board. Why do I call this a mood board? Mood boards are not the exact execution, but they give you an idea of how something could look like. They give you an idea about the key principles behind something. And that is what we use AI for. We use AI image generators. At the moment, it's a Google Nano Banana Pro. Whatever comes next, we will see. To visualize how a certain data point, how a certain review, how a certain Reddit post could turn into an ad for your brand. Of course, we learn your brand. Of course, we scrape your brand guidelines. And of course, we take all that information with us. But then there's another element to it. Okay, I can generate mood boards with AI, but what is specifically human about it and what makes a distinction between a great marketer and a good marketer is taste. That's really the human aspect that LLMs suck at. Again, because they are trained on the average of the average of the average. So how are you going to excel in taste? How is your content going to look so much better, so much funnier, so much more attractive than the content from somebody else? And that is basically how we, as Adomate, see the role of the marketer. Right? Heavy lifting, the nitty-gritty stuff, that you can automate. But taste, good taste, is something that still sits with you and that you need to develop and train. People, 100 years ago, there were no gyms. People didn't have to go to the gym because they had labor, work that kept them fit. We gave that to machines, and suddenly we lost our muscles, and now we need to go to the gym to build muscles. You want to have the same for your marketing brain? You want to hand it all over to the machine, lose your muscle, and then go on some kind of taste trainings or whatever? No, keep it. You have it now, keep it, maintain it, and use it in the best proper way. So how do we as a platform encapsulate your taste? How do we understand who you are? Okay, we start from your brand guidelines. Okay, we start from your website, but that only gets us there 80-90% along the way. How do we get the personal, the gut, like the nitty-gritty detail that lives inside you? It's hard to pronounce, but you can immediately say why this visual is good and this visual is bad. And so we look at how Tinder is doing that. Tinder comes with new matches every day or every week, depending on how you use it, and it's tailored to your taste. So how does Tinder know what your taste is? They look at your data, because you're creating data inside of Tinder, because you give feedback. You swipe left or you swipe right. Every time you do this, you give the algorithm a signal on how your taste or what your taste is. And you don't need to specifically mention what is wrong with a certain profile or another, no? But they can reverse engineer based on, if you create enough data, based on patterns inside, like which type of people you typically like and you don't like. That's exactly what we copy in our company as well, in our platform. So we generate content for you, and then you label them, you swipe through them, and in that sense, we actually learn your taste and we improve over time, and the content only becomes better and better and better. Because we all know it's way easier to talk about something concrete and say what's wrong about something and come up with a general rule about how your brand should be, right? So the Barbie, the creative strategist that I showed you in the beginning, is now much happier, right? Because she has a tool, it's called Adomate, and the creative strategist is actually not exactly the right role description anymore for her. She now became a creative performance architect. Why is that? We see the role of the data-driven performance marketer and maybe the more creative strategist converging into a new role. We specifically use the term architect for this because it's about system design. It's about thinking of how the structure should look like. It's about building workflows. And that is really still a job for a human to do because you know your brand best and you get the opportunity to think of it. Because a lot of our jobs are actually repetitive. Every month we do the same. We go to the campaign, we analyze performance, we create new briefings, run new tests. Based on the test, we scale the winners, and then we start over again with the new data. That's a flow. That's a process that you can automate. And that is how an architect thinks. Just like an architect thinks about the structure of a building, but doesn't build it on a daily basis, right? And so we're merging the words creative and performance inside there just to illustrate that performance and creative are no longer distinct worlds. They just come together. And now I'm going to show you a little bit more about the platform itself. So this is the type of output we create. So what you can see here is on the left an example of an ad of an other brand. There's data behind that. For example, how long has this ad been running online? What was the reach? And so on and so forth. So you can basically tune your data set to just make sure that those ads are the ones that you base yourself on. And then from that, we create variations. And I think you can already see the visual similarity between the other brand and our own brand, in this case, Bioma. We make multiple variations. And this is kind of the mood board phase we are in. So this is now only one, but we can make 100 times 100. So we can scrape 100 competitor ads and create 100 variations per competitor. So you actually create a board full of content that is based on real data, based on real performance data, but gives you immediately like a visual tsunami of content to curate. And that is the job, again, think about the taste that I just mentioned, that is so important for you to do so. How do we do that? With workflows. Workflows is like a new way, like I think more and more marketers are getting used to working in this way. And there are a few core elements in that. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's like working with a data set, selecting which data you want to use, and then generating new content from that. And a data set just looks like a spreadsheet. Everybody has used Excel, everybody knows what a table looks like, everybody knows columns, everybody knows filters, everybody knows rows. So that's the way we show you the data. So in this case, for example, this is a data set of an other skincare brand. So here we're showing in total 1,145 rows. And behind every row, there's a real ad from the last 12 months from this company. And an ad has a lot of features. It has the date it has been launched, if it's still active, how long it has been running. But there's also a lot of data that actually doesn't come naturally from the meta ad library, but that we can distill just from the visual, and there we use AI for. So for example, we ask we create a new column, and we can just give it a prompt to fill in the cells of the column. In this case, for example, we ask about the offer type. You write a prompt, or you take one of the prompts that we offer you, to just see which, for every ad, if it is a more awareness type offer, or more an awareness type of ad, or more a bottom of funnel ad. But you could also do that for products. So imagine you are a skincare brand and you sell an anti-aging product. You want to look at a competitor or another brand who sells 20 different products and only one of them is anti-aging. You create a column in Adomate. You say, is this ad from this competitor about anti-aging, yes or no? And only the ones with a yes are the ones you're going to work with, because only those are relevant to your use case. And so this is what the creative performance architect's job is going to become. It's thinking about what's my use case? How can I tweak the data? And how can I run a workflow that actually looks at the relevant data set and creates content for me on a repeating basis? Because workflows can be scheduled to whatever timing you like, every month, every 2 weeks, every day. Another type of data we work with is, for example, reviews. Think about reviews on Trustpilot, reviews on Amazon, Google reviews. There's so much voice of the customer inside there. So much nice hooks, golden nuggets and quotable lines that you can use. But those data sets are very hard to get your hold on because you need to click every time through. And we really enable our customers to distill from all these huge amounts of data. Think about 7,000 reviews, like, okay, but where are the golden nuggets? Where are those quotes that I can work with? So we really try to bring this data to you and make it really usable in a very user-friendly way. Some other content, just to give you a bit of a feel of the type of ads that we make. These are AI-generated ads, and they have the AI shortcomings. They are not always using the right fonts. They are not using always the right logos. We assume that this is something that like big companies like Google and OpenAI are working on a daily basis, and it will only improve over time. For now, some of our customers use it directly and push it like this to Meta, because they say like, okay, let's test it first, and only if it works, then we will improve on the design. Others use this as a briefing to a designer. Because if you send this to a designer and you say, just fix the font and the logo, the briefing is so sharp, it doesn't need 5 iterations, they know what needs to be done, and so the briefing time reduces significantly. Here on the top, you also see like the Twitter interface that we built to give feedback on every ad to capture your taste. I'd like to end on this. So, whilst other AI ad generation tools claim that they can do your job while you're sleeping, while you're away, so basically replace you, we strongly believe that's not the case. We strongly believe there's a big role for marketers, for creative people in this. And let's use AI to generate, but let the humans create, okay? And then I come back to my point earlier about taste and about how bad AI is at developing specific taste. Don't forget, these models are trained on the average of the average, so you just have average output, right? Unless you give it specific data about that nitty-gritty details that you have, and then our tool is, of course, a great means to that. So that's how we try to overcome that. And then secondly and lastly, I had this discussion at the booth also, where does creativity come from? And my personal belief, creativity comes from merging different contexts. So here we see toothpaste and a slug, 2 different worlds, but when they come together, they kind of look nice, right? And so, to give you a concrete example about this, Fuse tea is a soda drink, right? So they could just look at what Coca-Cola is doing, what iced tea is doing, and just copy those ads. But like if everybody copies everybody, there's not much innovation happening. And one of the real creative challenges is like, how do we create ads nobody else has created before? But instead of that, festival season is ahead of us. Why don't you look at Tomorrowland and the ads they are making? And then you get these type of results, right? So you're making soda ads that look like a festival timetable. So this is where I think the role of the human sits in really thinking through this and give your time, like the nitty-gritty time, to the machine, and use your time to be thinking about these type of things. And that is another example, and then I'm at the end of my talk. Thank you.